You see, in the mystery of being where time, matter, and spirit weave into this strange and beautiful dance, there is the form of the godly woman. Not a role, not a costume, not a rigid ideal, but an essence, a resonance, a still flame that neither flickers nor shouts, yet warms all within its reach. The world has long tried to define her, to box her into function, tradition, or rebellion. But the godly woman is not defined by the world. She exists beyond it. She does not chase approval nor run from solitude. She walks with God. And when you walk with God, you do not march to the drum of culture. You move to the rhythm of eternity. She is neither loud nor invisible. She is present deeply, fiercely, gently present. Not a puppet of perfection, but a vessel of divine paradox. Fierce yet tender, surrendered yet powerful, silent yet full of speechless wisdom. And so we must ask, not what a godly woman looks like, but what she does, what echoes her soul makes in this strange world. And in that echo we find 5 things, 5 sacred patterns, that tell us, yes, she walks with the divine. A godly woman's true value is not something that can be measured by external standards or fleeting circumstances. It is not carved from the opinions of others, nor is it dressed in the garments of status, achievement, or approval. Instead, her worth emerges quietly and powerfully from within, like a deep wellspring hidden beneath the surface of a calm lake. This inner source is the essence of her being, the divine spark that connects her to something far greater than herself. To live from within rather than from without is to recognize that her identity is rooted in the presence of God dwelling in her soul. This presence does not depend on anything transient or external. It is an eternal truth that sustains her through every shifting season of life. Many women find themselves caught in a relentless pursuit of validation, seeking recognition in their roles as mothers, wives, professionals, or community members. Society often pressures them to perform, to conform, or to meet certain expectations, and in doing so, they risk losing touch with their true selves. Yet the godly woman understands that these external markers are mere reflections on the surface of a much deeper reality. Like waves on the ocean, they come and go, but beneath them lies an unchanging depth. When she realizes this, she no longer feels the need to shape herself according to every outside voice or circumstance. Instead, she turns inward, cultivating a sense of wholeness and worth that is independent of success or approval. This inward living is not a withdrawal from the world, but a conscious choice to act from a place of spiritual alignment. It means her actions flow naturally from her connection to God, who is the source of life itself. She does not move from fear or insecurity, nor does she seek to manipulate or control outcomes. Rather, she moves with the gentle confidence of one who knows she is loved beyond measure and held in a divine embrace. This confidence allows her to navigate challenges with grace, and to respond to others with compassion and strength. When her actions are rooted in this inner place, they resonate with authenticity and power, drawing others toward the peace and light she carries. Living from within also means embracing the paradox of presence and freedom. The godly woman is fully present to herself and the world around her, yet she is not trapped by external identities or expectations. She embodies a freedom that comes from surrendering the illusion of control and trusting in the unfolding of God's plan. This surrender is not a passive giving up, but a dynamic openness to life's mystery, an acceptance that allows her to flow with change rather than resist it. In this flow, she discovers a profound joy and a resilience that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Ultimately, the godly woman's life is a testament to the truth that her worth is inherent and unshakable, because it is founded on the divine presence within her. This realization transforms how she sees herself and how she moves through the world. She no longer lives to meet the expectations of others, but to honor the sacred life entrusted to her. In living from within, she becomes a beacon, a quiet but powerful light that illuminates the path for others to find their own connection to God's eternal love. The godly woman embraces a paradox that many struggle to understand: the delicate balance between surrender and strength. These two qualities, often seen as opposites, are in her life intertwined like the threads of a sacred tapestry. She does not perceive surrender as defeat or weakness. Instead, she knows it is the very gateway to true power, the place where the ego steps aside to make room for divine strength to flow through her. To surrender in faith is to release the illusion of control and open oneself to the vast, mysterious energy of God's will. It is an act of courage, not submission, an invitation for the infinite to work through the finite. In a world that prizes independence and self-reliance, surrender can seem like an anathema. It feels risky, as if giving up control might leave one vulnerable or powerless. But the godly woman understands that true strength is not about holding tight to the reins of life. It is about letting go with trust. Like a river flowing over rocks, surrender allows her to move around obstacles rather than crashing into them. It is a dynamic force that carries her forward, even when the path is unclear or difficult. This strength born from surrender is quiet yet unyielding, a steady current that shapes the landscape without resistance. Surrender in her life does not mean passivity or resignation. It means actively choosing to cooperate with the divine plan, even when it challenges her desires or expectations. It is the faith to say, "Not my will, but yours," recognizing that God's wisdom surpasses human understanding. This kind of surrender requires humility, the willingness to admit that she does not have all the answers, and that her own plans may be limited or flawed. Yet within this humility, she finds an unexpected empowerment. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, she opens herself to possibilities greater than she could imagine. Strength, then, emerges as the fruit of surrender. It is not a brittle toughness that breaks under pressure, but a flexible resilience that bends and adapts without losing its core. The godly woman faces challenges and trials with this strength, grounded in the knowledge that she is supported by a power beyond herself. When she stumbles, she rises with grace. When she is tested, she endures with faith. Her strength is also seen in the gentleness with which she carries others, offering support without domination, love without demand. It is a strength that heals and restores rather than conquers or destroys. This dance between surrender and strength reflects the very nature of the divine, which is both infinitely powerful and infinitely loving. The godly woman mirrors this divine paradox in her life. She surrenders to God's will while standing firm in her identity as a beloved child of the Creator. She yields to the flow of grace while holding fast to her purpose and calling. In this balance she becomes a living testimony of faith, not a faith that shrinks back in fear, but one that moves forward with boldness and trust. Through this sacred interplay, she experiences freedom. Freed from the tyranny of control and fear, she walks confidently in the path set before her. This freedom is the essence of her strength and the heart of her surrender, a mystery embraced, a power wielded with love. In living this truth, the godly woman reveals the profound beauty of a life lived in harmony with the divine rhythm, where surrender is strength, and strength is surrender. In the midst of a world filled with noise, distraction, and relentless change, the godly woman stands as a beacon of stillness. She cultivates a sanctuary within herself, a quiet place where the chaos of life cannot penetrate, where the voice of God can be heard clearly and without distortion. This stillness is not simply the absence of sound or activity. It is a profound presence, a deep inner peace that anchors her soul amid the swirling storms of existence. It is the calm center in the eye of the hurricane, the silent space where divine wisdom speaks in whispers that only a quiet heart can discern. To walk in stillness amid chaos is a radical act. It requires intentionality and practice, for the world constantly clamors for attention, pulling the mind into endless noise and distraction. Yet the godly woman resists this pull. She knows that without stillness she risks losing touch with her true source, her connection to God. In the silence she listens not only with her ears but with her entire being, receiving guidance, comfort, and clarity. This stillness becomes a wellspring of strength, replenishing her spirit so she can meet life's challenges with grace rather than reaction. Stillness is also a form of resistance, not against people or circumstances, but against the frantic pace and superficial demands of modern life. The godly woman chooses to step back, to pause, and to create space for reflection and prayer. In these moments, she learns to discern what truly matters, to differentiate between fleeting urgencies and eternal truth. This discernment is a gift born from silence, allowing her to act wisely rather than impulsively. It is through stillness that she finds the courage to say no to what distracts her from her purpose, and yes to what aligns with God's plan. Her stillness is not isolation, but a deep communion with the divine. It is a sacred dialogue where she surrenders her worries and fears, and opens herself to receive peace that transcends understanding. This peace does not depend on external circumstances. It remains steadfast even when the world around her is turbulent. It becomes a powerful testimony to those who witness it, an invitation to seek that same quiet center where true strength and hope reside. Furthermore, the godly woman's stillness influences those around her. Like a stone dropped into a pond, her calm radiates outward, softening hearts and calming tensions. In her presence, others find respite from their own storms, a gentle reminder that peace is possible even in the midst of struggle. Her stillness creates sacred space wherever she goes, a subtle yet profound act of ministry that reflects the peace of God Himself. Ultimately, walking in stillness amid chaos is an expression of trust. It is the trust that God is in control, that His timing is perfect, and that His wisdom surpasses human understanding. This trust frees her from the need to fix or control everything, allowing her to rest in the assurance of God's presence. In that rest she discovers a power that is not flashy or forceful, but enduring and transformative. A power rooted in stillness, radiating peace, and anchored in faith. The godly woman understands that true power lies not in the volume of her voice, but in the depth and wisdom of her words. In a world where loudness often masquerades as authority, she chooses a different path, a path marked by discernment, grace, and thoughtful speech. Her words are not hurried or careless. They are carefully weighed and spoken with intention, carrying a weight that moves hearts and minds. She knows that speaking less can mean saying more, because true communication is not about filling silence, but about filling souls. Her speech reflects the wellspring of wisdom within her, a wisdom cultivated through prayer, reflection, and a deep connection to God. This wisdom allows her to see beyond the surface, to understand the complexities of life, and to respond with clarity and compassion. When she speaks, her words resonate like ripples on still water, subtle but far-reaching. She does not seek to dominate conversations or overwhelm others with volume. Rather, she invites others into a space of thoughtful dialogue, where meaning can be explored and truth can be shared. Gently but firmly, the godly woman's silence is as powerful as her speech. She knows when to speak and when to listen, recognizing that listening is often the greater act of love and respect. In moments of conflict or confusion, she chooses restraint over rashness, allowing space for understanding to grow. This patience in speech creates an atmosphere of peace and openness, where relationships can be healed and strengthened. Her silence is not absence, but presence, a conscious choice to hold back words until they are needed, so that when they come, they carry the full force of truth. Moreover, her words are wrapped in grace. They are neither harsh nor dismissive, but tender and uplifting. She understands the power of language to build up or tear down, and she chooses to use her words as instruments of encouragement and hope. Her speech brings light to dark places, healing to wounded hearts, and clarity to confused minds. She speaks with love, even when delivering difficult truths, ensuring that her message is received not with resistance, but with openness. The godly woman's words also reflect her humility. She does not speak to showcase her knowledge or to assert superiority, but to serve others and glorify God. Her speech is a reflection of her character, honest, sincere, and full of integrity. She embodies the biblical principle that a gentle tongue is a tree of life. Understanding that the manner in which she speaks can nurture growth and life in those around her. Ultimately, the godly woman's voice is a sacred instrument, tuned by faith and shaped by experience. It is a voice that does not shout to be heard, but whispers truth that cannot be ignored. Through her words, she creates a sacred space where wisdom and love meet, guiding herself and others toward a deeper understanding of God's purpose. In choosing wisdom over volume, she reveals the profound power of speech rooted in grace, a power that transforms, heals, and inspires. Wherever the godly woman goes, she carries more than just her presence. She carries a sacred space, a subtle but profound atmosphere charged with peace, love, and light. This sacredness is not dependent on the place itself, nor on grand gestures or rituals. Rather, it flows from her own connection to God and the grace that dwells within her. She is a living sanctuary, a portable temple, turning ordinary moments and mundane settings into encounters with the divine. This is the quiet power of her presence, an invisible transformation that invites those around her into a deeper experience of peace and belonging. Creating sacred space means she is aware of the environment she inhabits, not just physically but spiritually. She moves with intention, mindful of the energy she brings. Her actions and attitudes shape the atmosphere, calming tensions and inspiring hope. Whether she is in her home, at work, or walking through a crowded street, her spirit emanates a stillness and warmth that can soften hearts and open minds. This influence is often subtle, unnoticed by those who do not pause to feel it, but to those who do it is unmistakable. It is as if she carries a gentle light that dispels shadows, making the invisible presence of God tangible. Her home, in particular, becomes a refuge because she has consecrated it with her presence. It is not necessarily a perfect place, but a place where grace flows freely, where love is practiced daily, and where forgiveness and kindness are habitual. Guests entering her home may not immediately recognize the sacredness, but they feel it intuitively, an atmosphere of welcome and peace that invites rest and restoration. This sacred space nurtures relationships, allowing those who enter to be themselves without fear or judgment. In the workplace or public settings, the godly woman also carries this sacredness with her. She acts as a peacemaker and a source of encouragement, often through small acts of kindness or a calm word in moments of stress. Her presence reminds others that there is more to life than deadlines and pressures, that dignity, respect, and compassion are essential elements of any environment. By embodying these qualities, she quietly challenges the culture of hustle and noise, inviting others to slow down and reconnect with what truly matters. Creating sacred space is not about controlling others or imposing a mood. It is about offering a gift freely. It flows naturally from her authenticity and spiritual rootedness. She understands that sacredness is not confined to places marked by rituals or grand buildings. It is alive in the everyday, in conversations, in simple gestures, in the very way she chooses to be present. This sacred presence fosters healing and renewal, reminding those around her that God's peace is accessible and real. Ultimately, the godly woman's ability to create sacred space is a reflection of her deep relationship with God. As she walks in love and faith, she becomes a vessel through which divine grace flows, transforming not only her own life, but the lives of those she touches. In carrying this sacred space wherever she goes, she reveals the hidden holiness in ordinary life, making the world a little more like heaven. Ladies, you were never meant to fit in a box, nor balance yourself on the scales of someone else's expectations. You are not made to be small, quiet, or perfectly palatable. You are not a checklist of traits or a mirror reflecting someone else's desire. You are the ocean in motion, the moon pulling the tides, a mystery too vast to be measured, too sacred to be sold. You see, from the moment you were born, the world began to tell you stories. Stories of what a woman should be, what she should want, how she should act, and where she belongs. But I want to tell you something else, something ancient. You are not here to fit in. You are here to awaken. The feminine is not weak. It is the quiet fire of life itself, the womb of all creation, the rhythm that cannot be written, only felt. You do not need to become anything. You only need to remember what you are. So let us stop chasing approval. Let us stop apologizing for being too much or not enough. Let us begin now to be, wildly, tenderly, and without shame. This is for you. You are not a role. You are not a title, a job, or a definition passed down through the generations. You are not simply a daughter, a mother, a lover, a wife, a friend. These are roles you may play like costumes worn upon the stage of life, but they are not the depth of who you are. The great mistake of our modern world is to confuse the mask with the face, the performance with the performer, the part with the whole. But who you truly are, what you are beneath all the names and labels, is not something that can be captured in language or confined by expectations. It is an experience, not a description. The world has spent centuries telling women who they should be, and in doing so it has forgotten what women are. It told you to be nurturing, to be soft, to be quiet, to be desirable, but not too much. It told you to be strong but not threatening, to be successful, but not intimidating. It created boxes, each one lined with the velvet of tradition and the iron of conformity. And many women, aching for belonging, stepped inside. But that belonging came at the price of their being. Alan Watts often spoke of how we mistake ourselves for our roles, how we become hypnotized by the idea of identity, and forget the living presence behind it. A woman may say, "I am a mother," but that is not what she is. It is what she does. What she is a pulse of life that flows through the cosmos. The essence of the feminine is not defined by the tasks she performs or the people she serves. It is not something that needs to be named. It is known by its presence, felt like a breeze on the skin or the echo of a melody long remembered. So consider for a moment what remains when no one is watching, when you are alone with no audience to please, no expectations to fulfill. Who are you? That stillness, that awareness, that unspoken fire within, that is you. Not your name, not your history, not your image in the mirror, but the part of you that cannot be photographed or praised or criticized. The part of you that simply is. And here is the secret. Once you realize you are not these roles, you become free to play them. You can love, nurture, lead, speak, create not from pressure or performance, but from presence. You are no longer trapped by an identity, but flowing through experience. You are not a fixed idea, you are life in motion. Let the world keep its boxes. You are not a role, you are a reality. A divine unfolding, a mystery too large for definition, And when you live from that awareness, you don't just change your life. You change the very way life expresses itself through you. You stop living as a character and begin living as the author. The greatest illusion is that power lies somewhere outside of you, that it must be earned, fought for, or granted by someone else. But this is a distortion created by a world that has forgotten how to see. For true power is not something you acquire. It is something you uncover. It is not held in your hands or worn on your shoulders. It flows from the center of your being the moment you stop pretending to be something you're not. You see, many women have been taught that power means control, that to be powerful you must be louder, sharper, tougher, more like the ones who seem to run things. And so, in pursuit of power, many begin to wear masks not their own, speaking in tones that don't feel like home, chasing standards built for someone else's reflection. But this is not power, this is performance. Alan Watts once said that the universe is not a dead machine but a living dance, and you are not a cog in it but a participant in its rhythm. Real power is not domination, it is participation. It is not about who shouts the loudest, but who listens most deeply. A woman who truly knows herself does not need to raise her voice to be heard. She does not need to impose herself to be felt. Her presence grounded in truth is more potent than any posture of control. The power you seek is already yours, not in the form of ambition, but in authenticity. It emerges when you stop trying to become someone, and instead allow yourself to be. It arises not when you conquer others, but when you inhabit your own life completely. Your thoughts, your body, your intuition, your silence, your joy. That kind of power doesn't burn out, it burns through. It melts pretense and ignites something ancient in those around you. You have known this power before. You have felt it in moments when you were not performing, not pleasing, not proving. Perhaps in the softness of solitude, perhaps in the wild laughter that needed no permission, perhaps in the fierce clarity that came without warning, like a storm or a sunrise. Those were not coincidences, those were reminders. The world may not always recognize this kind of power, because it does not come with a title or a crown. It does not shout. It does not beg to be seen. But make no mistake, it transforms everything it touches. It is the kind of power that creates life, heals wounds, holds space, and moves mountains without making a sound. So stop seeking power as if it's a throne waiting for you to ascend. Stop looking for it in comparisons or conditions. It is not out there. It is here quietly waiting for you to stop trying and start trusting. Power is not a thing to grasp. It is the freedom to be fully yourself in a world that has forgotten how to see clearly. And once you claim that, no one can take it from you. Beauty, in the modern world, has been distorted into a currency, a means of transaction, comparison, and validation. Women are taught from a young age to treat beauty like a product, something to polish, perfect, present, and protect. But what we often forget is that true beauty is not something you achieve. It's something you are when you are present. Not when you're flawless, but when you're real. Not when you're admired, but when you're alive. The trouble begins when beauty is treated as an external goal, a mirror-based measurement, a reflection shaped by shifting trends and passing opinions. The fashion changes, the faces on the magazine covers change, and the ideals are always moving targets. One day it's this body shape, the next it's another. You chase it, you invest in it, you stress over it. But it never quite brings peace, because beauty was never meant to be hunted, it was meant to flow through you. Alan Watts would remind us that flowers do not bloom to impress. They do not compete. They do not ask, "Am I enough?" A cherry blossom simply opens, unaware of its delicate brilliance. It has no need for approval. It is, and that is beauty. Likewise, a woman does not need to become beautiful. She only needs to stop hiding her light. The moment she shows up fully in her being, without apology or pretense, she becomes radiant in a way no makeup or filter could ever imitate. There's a different kind of beauty that emerges when a woman is deeply connected to herself, when her movements are not measured, but natural, when her laughter is not forced, but free, when her eyes carry the depth of someone who has lived, not someone who has posed. This beauty doesn't fade with age, it deepens, it grows wiser, richer, more magnetic. It cannot be captured in a photograph because it's not about appearance. It's about presence. We are living in a time where women are praised for being ageless, as if aging were a crime and youth the only form of worth. But beauty is not linear. It is cyclical, like the moon. It waxes and wanes. It shifts and transforms. The young woman radiates with fire, the older woman with knowing. Each phase carries its own light, its own mystery. To chase only one is to deny the fullness of your being. So instead of asking, "Do they think I'm beautiful?" ask, "Am I here in this moment, alive in my own skin?" Because when you are truly present, when your heart is open, your breath is steady, your mind is quiet, there is no question of beauty. You become it, not the image but the source, not the ornament but the flame. Let your beauty be your being, not your brand. Let it be how you listen, how you love, how you move through the world, not to be seen but to be felt. Because that is the kind of beauty the soul recognizes and the world desperately needs. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that your worth must be proven. That you must strive to be enough, smart enough, pretty enough, kind enough, strong enough, successful enough. As if you were born lacking, as if your existence needed to be justified. This idea has wrapped itself around so many lives, quietly whispering, "You are almost there, but not quite." And so you keep striving, polishing, pushing, hoping that someday, someone or something will finally say, "You've made it." But the truth is, you were never meant to be measured. You are not a project to be improved or a product to be perfected. You are not here to meet a standard, you are here to be. This relentless search to be enough is built on a lie that your value is conditional. But who set those conditions? And why do they change with every season, every culture, every trend? Alan Watts often spoke of how we confuse the symbol with the reality. We confuse our social image, our reputation, our resume, with who we are. But all of these things are just surface ripples. You are the depth beneath. You do not become worthy when you succeed, or when you are loved, or when you meet someone else's definition of greatness. You are worthy because you are. The universe did not create you by accident. It brought you forth in its own rhythm, like the blooming of a flower or the rising of the tide. You do not see a sunset and think, "Is it enough?" You don't question the worth of the ocean, or the legitimacy of a tree growing wild in the forest. Their value is inherent in their being, and so is yours. You were not born to prove anything. You were born to remember that there was never anything missing in the first place. But in forgetting this truth, you begin to chase. You chase approval, you chase perfection, you chase comparison. You tie your value to what you can offer, what you can achieve, or how well you fit in. And in doing so, you lose sight of the quiet, powerful truth sitting inside you all along. You don't need to be more. You need to be you. When you let go of the need to be enough, you begin to experience freedom. You begin to create, not to impress, but to express. You begin to love, not to earn something, but because love overflows from your being. You begin to rest without guilt, knowing that rest does not diminish your worth. So stop asking if you're doing enough. Stop wondering if you're lovable, desirable, valid. You are not an item on a shelf. You are not a comparison chart. You are not a task to be completed. You are a mystery unfolding in real time, and there is no metric in existence that can measure that. You were never meant to be enough. You were meant to be whole, and wholeness cannot be measured. It can only be lived. For too long the world has misunderstood the nature of the feminine. It has mistaken softness for weakness, intuition for irrationality, emotion for instability. These misconceptions are not just errors, they are wounds. passed down through generations, shaping how women see themselves and how society interacts with them. But the truth, if we dare to look beyond the surface, is that the feminine is not lesser. It is wiser, not weaker. It is older, not fragile. It is formidable in a way the world has yet to fully comprehend. There is a quiet strength in the feminine that does not shout, but holds. It does not force, but flows. It listens when others are too busy speaking. It feels when others are too numb to notice. It nurtures not out of obligation, but because it understands that life flourishes in care. The wisdom of the feminine is not built on conquest, but on connection. It does not separate, it weaves together. It is the intelligence of the earth, the rhythm of the moon, the patience of the tide. Alan Watts often reminded us that we live in a culture that glorifies control. We want to define, dissect, and dominate everything, but the feminine refuses to be controlled. It cannot be dissected because it is not a formula, it is a force. It is the mystery behind creation, the breath before the word, the silence that speaks louder than any explanation. When a woman trusts this within herself, she becomes unshakable, not because she resists, but because she knows. She knows who she is, not in words, but in being. The world often celebrates logic and linearity, the traits traditionally associated with masculinity. But there is another kind of intelligence, one that doesn't follow straight lines, but spirals, one that doesn't calculate outcomes, but senses timing. The feminine knows when to wait, when to move, when to speak, when to stay silent. It's an embodied wisdom, not taught but remembered. And when a woman taps into that, when she stops second, guessing, and starts listening, she moves through life with a grace that defies explanation. The mistake has never been in the feminine itself, but in the way it has been perceived and suppressed. Women have been told to toughen up, to harden, to act like men to be taken seriously. But the future is not asking women to become less feminine. It is begging them to remember the power of what they already are. The kind of power that heals wounds, raises children, guides communities, and brings light into dark places, not through domination, but through presence. You don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need to armor up to be wise. Your softness is not your liability. It is your language. Your emotion is not your flaw. It is your compass, and your intuition, it is not a guess. It is your guide. The feminine is not here to compete. It is here to balance, to restore, to lead in a different way. And when that wisdom is honored, not only are women liberated, the world is healed.